and he managed a daring last-minute escape using a special escape apparatus called the Davis. He swam to the nearest shore of Kefalonia, which, as I said, was sort of between Skala and Zakynthos. Kefalonia was under the Italian occupation at the time, and the local Kefalonian people found him, treated his wounds before taking him in, so that he couldn't actually be found. They moved him around the houses in Mavrata and Zakynthos and Skala for 18 months. So 18 months they fed him, moved him around and hid him from the Italian soldiers. Eventually he escaped along with 3 Kefalonians who had been looking after him. When he finally got back to Britain, his story was so unusual that no one sadly believed him. Then in 2001, a Greek diving rescue team discovered the submarine. They are actually talking of making another film here. Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg have come and had a look as well, so there's a possibility of yet another film on the island. They discovered the submarine, and it was found that what John Capes had said was actually the truth, even down to the bottle of rum that he described. Sadly, John Capes is now no longer with us to hear that he'd been forgiven and that his escape was brought to justice. But a few years ago there was a memorial service here to say the members of the family of him and his crew members came to Poros. They were met by all the dignitaries. They went out in a boat off of the Poros coast and dropped poppies and flowers into the sea. So it would be nice if they actually made another film here. Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg love Kefalonia. They have a huge yacht. They come here most summers up just off of Fiscado. Fiscado is the place to go if you're rich and famous. We'll see some lovely boats today, I'm sure, as well. So that was Poros. We're coming out of Poros now through this deep gorge, through the mountains. They do abseiling here. This is a dried up riverbed over to the right hand side, but in the winter months there's waterfalls here, loads of rain, loads of water coming down. This is a gushing river down to the right hand side. As you can see, it's looking rather dry at the moment, but in the winter there's waterfalls coming down through the rocks. It's lovely, very pretty here. And they say this gorge was made by Hercules as he stomped his way across the island. He put his foot down between the rocks and made the gorge to take us through into Poros. Side of the island. So we saw some of Kefalonia yesterday, we're seeing some of Kefalonia today. Kefalonia is the largest of the 7 Ionian islands. It covers an area of 688 square kilometres of land. We have 3 islands very close to us, the island of Zakynthos, which you're going on to, the island of Ithaca, and at the top, just off of Fiscado, we have the island of Lefkas as well. Although we are the largest of the 7 islands, we're not that well known compared to Corfu and even possibly Zakynthos. But although we have less people here, we do have quality people come here. We have lovely people come to the islands. A lot of families come here as well. The Greeks do love their families. They do respect the older people, the older generation, and they love the children as well. So it is a lovely place to come for your summer holidays. Now, nobody really knows why Kefalonia was called Kefalonia. It could have been one of 3 reasons. The Greek word for head is kephali, and Kefalonia was the head of the 7 Ionian islands. It could have been from the first inhabitants of the island, who were the Kefalonian people, or it could have been from the mythical Greek god of the island, who was Kefalos. Now, he had 4 sons, And he named, at the time, Kefalonia was split into 4 areas, and these 4 areas were named after his 4 sons. There was the Krani area, which was Augustoli, around there. There was the Pali area, the Pali Peninsula, that's where Lixouri is. There was the Proni area, which is down here, Skala and Katelios and Poros area. And there was the Sami area, which we're going to, well, which we're heading on our way to.
You take me one of me swimming across there. Are you ready? No. You won't get me in the water for love nor money. Oh really? Only paddle. I don't. Oh, we did work. Until I hurt my back, we've been swimming every week for donkey years.
Ja. Het is meer Jan die mij dan. Ja.
Shall we be able to ask them all about the food options for tomorrow? Those that want to do their
me take the photographs of them, I'm more than happy to do that as well if you want that as your backdrop. Just give me your cameras and I'll take some photographs. The mountain is been made into a national park for several different reasons. One of them is to protect the Kefalonian wild horses that range freely across the mountain, and another reason is because of the special fir trees that grow there. The Abies Kefalonica is a special fir tree that only grows on Kefalonia and nowhere else in the world. They have dug a few up, tried to grow them in other places, but they've never survived, so this is the only place where this particular type of fir tree still grows. It's a very dark coloured fir tree. It's now growing mainly towards the top of the mountain, as we have had forest fires there which have destroyed some of the trees. And it is said that Odysseus came over from Ithaca and used the wood from these trees to make his warships to go over to Troy to save Helen. The Venetians actually called the mountain Black Mountain because of its dark colour from the fir trees. Now in the summer it's very nice to go up there with a picnic. There's some lovely picnic areas in the national park. In the winter you can only get about 2/3 of the way up because of the thick snow, and the road is actually closed. They've got great big poles up the mountain with yellow bands around them to show you how deep the snow is. The poles are 3-metre poles, and usually the poles have completely disappeared. You can't even see the poles at all, let alone the yellow bands. So that's how deep the snow gets up the top of the mountain. It isn't any good for skiing though, it's far too rocky up there, so we don't have any winter ski holidays up there, but there is plenty of snow, and for the people brave enough, they drive as far as they can, then walk up there to go and make their snowmen and have snowball fights. As we come round you can see how dark it is at the top of the mountain, and that little white building there all on its own is the observatory. This is relatively new, it's only been open the last few years. And then slightly to the left hand side you can see it's got a pair of Mickey Mouse ears. These are the dishes that belong to the NATO base that was up the mountain. The NATO base is now actually closed, but they left the dishes up there. Wealthy family of refugees from Constantinople, but he left his family at a very young age to go to school on the island of Zakynthos. In 1537 his travels led him to Jerusalem, and this is where he stayed for 12 years. Here he was actually ordained as a monk, and then finally returned back to Greece. He started off in Crete and then went to Zakynthos before arriving here on Kefalonia in 1554. Now the first cave that he lived in was in the Lassi area, which is just outside of Argostoli, which we visited yesterday. And he lived there for 6 years before coming down into this valley that we're just turning into now, which is called the Omala Valley. And this is where he found an abandoned chapel. He established it as a nunnery and took girls in to keep them safe, and he started teaching the village children to read and write. Now the valley here is also known as the Valley of 40 Wells, because he had water divining skills and he was able to find lots of water wells in the village for the villagers. Sadly, Gerasimos died on August the 15th, 1579. become a popular member of the community down here, so they buried him, gave him a nice funeral. But 2 years later, for some unexplainable reason, they decided to dig him up. Now, when they dug him up, they found that he hadn't decomposed in any way. He'd still got hair, skin, teeth. He was still in the clothes and shoes that they buried him in. So they decided to bury him again, only 8 months later, to dig him up again. Still he hadn't decomposed, and that's when they decided to make him the patron saint of the island, and he was canonised in 1622. Now, the 20th of October and the 15th of August, both the dates that he was dug up, his body comes out again. Now, they bring him out of the church, and it's a huge, both of the days, a huge, great big festival days here. Thousands of people, not only from Kefalonia, all over Greece, come to the St. Gerasimos festival days. As I say, his body is paraded along. It's in a glass upright coffin, so everybody can see him, and people lay down the middle of the road, and the priests carry the body of St. Gerasimos over these people that are laying down, and St. Gerasimos is supposed to make them well again. Now, although it's a festival day here, it's also a very sad day, because people really do believe in the powers of St. Gerasimos. They really do believe they're going to be made well again. So a lot of ill people come here. They actually come the night before the procession. They sleep outside the church so that they can get a good place once the body is brought out. So they lay in the road, and their belief is so strong that sometimes miracles actually do happen. They do get well again. The belief is incredible in the power of St. Gerasimos, which is lovely. Everybody should believe in something, and they believe in St. Gerasimos. Now, his body is still kept inside the chapel. They haven't buried him again. He's in a very ornate silver casket. Now, if there's any Greek Orthodox people in there, you will be able to see the coffin actually opened, because what they do is they stick their head inside the coffin and they kiss the patron saint's feet. They won't open it for us if there's no Greek Orthodox people there, because they know that we're not Greek Orthodox. But if we're lucky enough that it is opened, in the inside panel of the door of the coffin, which is right next to St. Gerasimos' body, you'll see little discs, silver or gold, and they've got all sorts of things on them: eyes, limbs, arms, all sorts of things. And these are parts of the body that a member of their family has that is broken, not working properly, whatever. They've given this icon to St. Gerasimos to get power, and then after a few months they'll come back, get this little icon and give it to the person that's not very well. And as I say, their belief is so strong, that person has as good a chance as any of actually getting better again. So this is the road where the parade is. This huge monastery here is the new St. Gerasimos monastery. This is where on the festival days, because there's so many people here, the body is brought to, because they're all lining up these steps for hours and hours so they can take their turn to go inside the monastery and kiss the patron saint's feet. And all the fields over the back are filled with market stalls. You can get anything here, from a spoon to a pair of shoes to a rabbit to a goldfish, clothes, curtains, everything. And because people are here overnight, the marketplace is open overnight as well, and Greek people are here all night long, literally 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. They're all here, coming to light a candle, coming to go to the marketplace, and then the next day at 11:30 is when the big parade is, when they'll bring the body out, people are laying the floor, and then the powers of St. Gerasimos and their willpower will get them well again. We're just going to pop into the Ribola winery as well. This is a cooperative winery. So all the farmers from the 7 surrounding local villages are growing the Ribolla grape. Small, delicate white grape. They're picking the grapes. These are all empty boxes now. Grape picking time is at the end of August. And they're bringing their grapes to the winery here to be made into the Ribolla wine. Now there are quite a few wasps around these boxes, I can see, so go straight inside and then we'll ask the guide. It's in at this stage and the skin's on, and inside there's like a nylon coating and it's pressed in, so all the juice is pressed out. Someone actually noticed there's bits of skin and pips down there. They're then separated and they use that back in the vineyards as like a organic fertiliser. So the juice is in there, it's been squeezed out, and then goes through all these other pipes. That's why we've had to do quite high when we get them in the corner. So there's storage tanks which are here. We will get to taste it. I think you'll probably like the slopes of Ennis, which is slightly sweeter, on the rosé. Do you like it?
Yes, I like rosé.
That's all right. So I wasn't going to shout over the presses, but the wine is being pressed now. It's usually kept in there between 6 to 8 months. We also have a Ribolla Wine Festival. When they're actually making the new wine and they need to get rid of the old wine, you get to drink Ribolla wine free for the whole weekend. So if you're ever back again, come to St. Gerasimos Monastery for the festival day. And then the last Saturday and Sunday in August is always the Ribolla Wine Festival as well. Now this is the bottling line. Usually there's ladies in here that's making a right racket. This is quite nice. It's nice and quiet today. So there's ladies behind all the way along there. Some of this is still done by hand. The bottles, oh I'm so sorry, the bottles are at the end there. They're sterilised in the first unit, whizzed along, then they fill up with wine, then they're corked, they're passed along, they're checked to see if there's any sediment in the wine, and then the label is stuck on the actual bottle. That's the Ribolla wine over there. And then you can see in one of the cages it's got its overcoat on, that little Hessian bag. That's done on that table over there. The women put these bags on by hand, staple it in, thread the little medallion on and tie it onto the bottle. So there's usually quite a lot of ladies in here busy working. They've gone home for lunch maybe now, so we don't mind. It's a bit quiet, so it's a bit noisy when that's going on. So they make the Ribolla white, the Slopes of Mount Ennos, which is a white, St. Gerasimos, which is a white wine that's only made with the grapes nearest to the monastery, and then they make a Linos red and a Brillante, which is a rosé. So we don't want to talk about it anymore, we want to actually try some. So this is the trying room. There's also toilets here if you should need them.
And by volume, and this one we can export because the majority of the grapes of the valley and the grape pressings are completed with more pressure for this wine. To prevent the wine from the sun and from the heat, we use a jacket. The ladies put manually the sleeve around their bottle. Second one, if you can finish it, you can put it into the ice pocket, not the problem. Second wine is San Gerasimo. San Gerasimo, same grape we use for San Gerasimo Robola. But the difference, the grapes are of the high altitude vineyards. Of the high altitude vineyards in full sun, so with low yield. So this one is the top quality of Robola. The grape presses are completed with less pressure. We take the fresh juice. So this one is a higher quality. San Gerasimo took the name of our patron, in the monastery. To honor ourselves, we gave his name to one of our best wines. 12.5 by volume, 12% by volume the classic one. Παρακαλώ, στην υγειά μας. Cheers, Enjoy the most. The rosé, it's a semi-dry, demi-sec. No Robola, it's a blending wine, 4 varieties, local ones. 3 white, 1 black grape. So the color, light rosé. This is very fruity. 11.5 by volume. It's about...
Don't like